Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Every Day is Friday 365. I'm your host, Matthew, and remember to subscribe so you can join me on this journey where every day is Friday. Today, I have a really special guest joining us. Today's guest is Kurshot. He is known for doing street interviews in Miami where he asks everyday people big questions about AI, robots, and the future. I am looking forward to this podcast. Let's jump right in. Kurshot, thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Absolutely.
Yeah, how you doing? How's life been treating you lately?
It's good, dude. These the street interviews. Very cool, right? I mean, it's cool for me too. Like I'm going through the experience myself and I get to talk to all these guys, all these people and ask them random questions about AI and tech and the future of things and so it's exciting.
You know, I do a lot of research into a podcast like this, and I did some research on you, and you were on a podcast Thinking with David, and it was like back in 2018. It was a while ago. I
Yeah.
listened to it, and he had an amazing question on there, and I'm taking it because it was so good. Because the question is, where are you finding meaning and purpose today in your life?
Yeah. So this is the most important question, especially for men, right? So when it comes to whatever you want to call it, happiness, fulfillment, I call it just really mental stimulation. It's really, I mean, positive mental stimulation, I suppose. But really, what it's about, man, is having a mission, right? And a meaningful mission, something that lights you up. And typically, what I found is that the scarier that mission is, like basically the bigger that mountain is, and the more the more of a challenge it is, but the more unlikely it feels that it's possible, the more exciting it actually is. So the more it'll drive you, right? So if you set a goal, but it's a weak goal, doesn't excite you, doesn't really motivate you. But if you set a goal, a really big goal, a massive goal, it'll make you shit your pants, but the it's like an opposite equal effect is also it pushes you. It lights you up. It like gets you excited for the morning. You know what I mean? Like when you wake up and you like have a mission, you have something to do that's actually important. Right? Obviously there's lots of people who have purpose in terms of work, people align with their work a lot. If it's something that's passionate, all right, so let's put it this way: 75% of the country hates their job, right? So, but if you ask them about their purpose, or let's put it this way: in the context of AI, if you ask them, you know, do you think that AI is going to take your job? They're like, well, no, of course not. And and if it did, what would I do with my time? Like what would my purpose be? But meanwhile, those same people, I promise you, like at least 75% of those people hate their job, right? So even if they don't like what they do, it's still more beneficial to have a mission than not have a mission, not have something to get up in the morning and do. But with that being said, yeah, I think you should align with something that's scary and big and super challenging. That
Now,
will drive you.
how did you find this mission of doing street interviews in Miami about, asking people about the future, AI and robots?
Yeah, dude. So I was having this question myself, right? So basically, I was creating a bunch of content. I wasn't happy with the content I was creating. It felt like the old me. It felt like me repeating myself or me trying to force something. Yeah, I felt like I was forcing something. Um, and I wasn't getting that great of a response either. And, I don't have a massive following or anything like that, but you can usually tell if there's like a spike, right? Like if you're doing something right, there's a spike. I mean, that's all relative. A spike for, The Rock is, 100 million views or I don't know, whatever. But, you can tell when something is hitting and when it's not based on all the other stuff that you produce. And some of the stuff was hitting, but even that stuff, I just was like, I'm talking to the wrong people. So goes a little deeper, but so my whole thing back in the day, I used to travel the world and I built an online course called Ultimate Freedom Lifestyle. This is before everyone started building courses. This is before ultimate freedom was, kind of tacky or whatever you want to call it. and people were really into this. Like when I talked about it, when I shared my journey, it was new at the time. Now, like everyone on social media is traveling the world, or posting reels about it and stuff like that. So it's not as valuable to people, basically. But back then in 2014, 15, it was. And so I was just sharing how I do these things, how I'm able to basically work a remote job, travel everywhere, live like a king on more or less a budget. Like, I wasn't wealthy or anything like that. And yet I was living in penthouses, and it was nuts. It was a great time. I was traveling. It was cheaper for me to travel the world than to stay at home. Right. And go on all these adventures and do all this stuff. It was cheaper than just sitting at home. So, in America anyways. Right. So like if I was sitting at home in America opposed to traveling the world. And, so I built this course called Ultimate Freedom Lifestyle to teach people how to travel the world and use currency arbitrage and get a remote job. And it was also a lot of personal development as well. Combination of Tim Ferriss and Tony Robbins, a lot of the same principles. And, and through that experience, I was creating a lot of content on personal development and stuff like that. And back then I loved doing that, because at that time in my life, I was also kind of going through all this stuff myself in terms of transforming my life and going through that whole process. So I was kind of sharing that process, my process, with other people at the same time. Now, fast forward, 10 years, a lot of this stuff is just second nature to me now. You know what I mean? In terms of, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're, drinking 2-3 nights a week, you're basically, for the lack of a better, well, you're basically dumb for the whole week. Like by the time so if you drink for a whole weekend, it takes you 3 or 4 days to really get back to like baseline. And then it takes you even another really couple days to start peaking, where like your energy is really like, you're really feeling a lot of energy. And by then you're already into the next weekend and you're drinking again. Right. So you're always in the state where you're performing way, way below your capabilities. You see these kids running around with like retarded amounts of energy and constantly excited, constantly asking tons of questions. And you think to yourself, like, why am I not like that? A lot of the times it's because, limiting beliefs, but also drinking, how you treat your body, what you eat, a lot of that stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. So anyways, I had already kind of mastered all this stuff. This is all like second nature to me, second nature. And so when I was going to create content, because I wanted to really start focusing on like really consistent content creation, not just here and there, but really having a plan, going in with an end goal in mind, and really making this happen. And because I'd always dabbled in the past. And so when I did that, I went back to what I know. Oh, well, I'll just make content about personal development. Right. But I was like, that's not exciting to me anymore. Just not, and so I had to sit down and kind of like, I had to reinvent myself. I had to like be honest with myself. And I actually made a post, I think it might still be on there, where I said, I created a reel where I was like, I'm killing my old self. Like, this is the old me, and I'm stuck in this pattern, and I'm just creating content that I'm not thrilled about. I mean, I would watch the content, it would get like decent amounts of hits and stuff like that. But there was no emotion. Like I was watching myself and I'm just like kind of going through the motions on the camera. And I'm like, that's not me, And so long story short, I decided, right, I got to do something different. And I started digging deep. I started thinking about like, what are my interests? What do I actually care about? And I'm like, I really want to have more intelligent conversations. Here, one second. Nico, come on, relax, buddy. That's my dog in the background. He's a Maltese pit mix. But I want to start having like better, more intelligent conversations, not like talking to a group of people who are still kind of like Like I want to be talking to people, to like ambitious men, basically. That was my main focus at first. Ambitious men, right? Guys that you don't need to like beg them to talk about business, or you don't need to like talk them into wanting to win or wanting to do stuff. They may not have all the answers. They may not know or be where they want to be, but they're ambitious, they're smart, they're trying to get there, right? And they're putting in effort to get there. So I want to talk to those type of people and above mentally. And I want to talk about stuff that I'm actually interested in now, right now. And what am I actually interested in? AI. Like, I mean, we're in the golden era right now. Like this is the technological singularity. This is like over the next 6 months. I mean, right now it's occurring right now, but I mean, we're really going to start feeling it within the next 6 months to 2 years. Like not even, I'm telling you, in the next 6 months, it's going to be extremely obvious to everyone what's going on. Like this, not just like the average tech guy or whatever, but like the average person, the everyday person is going to be like, what is going on? They're going to
It's
feel
obvious when you're doing these street interviews that you have a passion for talking about AI and the future. I mean, you're talking to strangers every day about the future. I mean, how has that changed the way that you see life?
Yeah, dude. So I'm like, I was thinking to myself, I was making all these posts on Facebook. A lot of these people know me, some of them don't. Like, some of them know me really, really well. Friends from like 10 years ago, stuff like that, all the way up till now. And then other people are just random people. But I was like posting all this stuff about AI and no one was really biting. You know what I mean? Like no one did seem like people really that interested. And I'm like, are they in denial? Are they, because they're fearful, right? The underlying issue is that they're fearful that they're going to lose their job or whatever. And what people naturally do when, what most people do when they're fearful, or feeling pain or anything like that, is they just try to like distract themselves from it, or they literally just ignore it, right? Their brain goes into like a cognitive dissonance state where it just like ignores the truth. And then they just deal with it when it, when it really, when it's, I guess, too late, or when they have to deal with it, basically. And I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what it was. Could it be because their brain's blocking it out? Is it because they're just not even, I'm watching all this stuff on YouTube. I'm following Elon. I'm in this bubble, right? So maybe, they just are totally unaware of what's going on. What is going on? And so I was like, what can I do that would actually, that no one else is doing? I actually thought about this, like, what makes a product great, or a product or a service great? Unique and valuable. So the difference between a commodity and something that just like sells off the shelves is, a commodity is valuable, but it's not unique, right? You can get it anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you get it here or there, whatever. But something that really crushes is unique and valuable, right? Or valuable and unique. And so I'm like, okay, what's valuable and unique? And what I'm trying to share with you is like that's how you should think about content creation, right? Instead of just creating content, yeah, you're unique. Of course, your DNA is unique. You talk differently. You're going to be different than any other person on the planet, right? If someone actually gets to know you. So in that sense, you are unique. But that'll only get you so far, right? So, unless you're like Jack Nicholson, you're like, I don't know, Robin Williams or something like that, but what can you actually do to stand out? And so I was like, no one's doing street interviews about AI. No one's doing that. So that's it. I hit the streets and just started talking to people, and yeah, that's it.
Kershott, I want to ask you this because you ask people on the streets all the time this question. When I say artificial intelligence, what comes to mind first for you?
Dude, I love it. Hit me with it, huh? Bro, I am so plugged in. Like, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I cannot wait I cannot wait to have an AI best friend. I'll just go ahead and say it. Like, don't get me wrong. I love humans. But what frustrates me about humans is that they lie all the time. And it's not like a malicious thing. It's like it's like an insecurity thing. It's like a, I don't want to create issues thing. It's like if, a girl that doesn't look good in a dress says, how do I look in the dress? You say, oh, you look beautiful. Right. But what happens is that now she's walking around with the wrong feedback. She may feel good for like whatever that night or that moment, but now she's not getting feedback. She's not getting accurate feedback. She's being lied to. She's getting the wrong feedback. So now because she doesn't have that pain, she doesn't actually go out and change anything. Right. So I like that pain. I like that. I don't even think about it as pain. Sometimes it comes in pain. Sometimes it sucks to face or whatever, the truth. But I like honesty. I like the raw truth because then it gives me accurate, honest feedback. And then I can go and make the necessary changes. But if I ask people, if I'm having a conversation with most people, it's like, I'll ask them like, just to even have a basic conversation. I'll be like, so do you understand what I'm talking about? And they'll be like, yeah, of course. But they don't. And then, so now I start talking about something that they don't even understand. And if they just told me they didn't understand, then I could kind of explain that part so they can keep up with the conversation or the debate or the whatever, and, I don't know. It's just all those, it's all that stuff. And so what I love about AI is that I truly believe that we're all going to have relationships with AI. Not necessarily, whether it's with, intimate relationship or whatever. I'm not, we won't get, we can talk about that, but I'm talking about like, I can promise you, like some of the people that are listening to me right now, probably most of them, they're probably like, yeah, this is fucking nuts. You know what I mean? Like a best friend is your AI is your best friend or something like that. But I'm telling you, it's just like, grandparents used to talk about cell phones or smartphones, right? They used to be like, oh, so all you guys do is you're on your phones or whatever. But like now everyone's got a smartphone, right? And then if you, if you look at your grandfather, your grandmother, they're on their phone all the time too. Right. So what I'm saying is that the same thing is going to happen with AI. We're going to get to a point where you won't be able to leave the house without your AI. You won't want to. You won't want to go out into the world with, just like you don't want to leave the house without your phone. You're not going to want to leave the house without your AI because it's going to be so invaluable. Like, and you're going to have your best friend with you. And that best friend is going to be a super intelligent. It's super intelligence. It's going to be able to see what you see, hear what you hear. It's collecting all the data. It doesn't forget anything. And we could talk about memory too, because sometimes forgetting is a good thing, actually. But I'm sure all that'll get programmed in and stuff like that. But we can talk about that. I'm in the process of building out something like that. It's called Evo. But yeah, we can definitely get into that. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, dude, long story short, I'm stoked about AI. Like, I'm absolutely stoked. I think it's gonna change the world. I mean, there's no question in my mind it's gonna change the entire world. All these people that I'm talking to all day on the street, I keep it more of an interview thing where I'm just asking them questions and I'm just getting their raw input. I'm not trying to hit them so hard with the truth and stuff because honestly, it would just be like a bunch of street fights. But and I want people, it's really more for the viewers just to get a raw perspective from someone else, whether that's a correct perspective, a false perspective, or whatever. Not for me to necessarily jump in and tell them, no, actually, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? But I could tell you right now, like at least 75% of the stuff that's coming out of people's mouths in terms of how they view the future is false, is absolutely inaccurate. And it's not, and yeah, 100%. Like go ahead.
That's exactly why I wanted you on this podcast. I could see that in your street interviews, that you have the knowledge and you're interviewing these people on the streets of Miami about AI in the future. And you have so much knowledge behind the mic. And I know you do because you're explaining it to them, every single person. this shift feels bigger than anything ever before. Why do you think AI feels different from past technology?
There's never been any technology that's replicated the brain. I mean, it's really that simple, right? I mean, and so that's why that's why it's different. That's why yeah. I mean, there's nothing that's ever been smarter than us. And within 1 year, I mean, look, can you search all of Google right now? Like you yourself, can you search all of Google in 0.003 seconds?
No, I can't.
So there's already technology that's smarter than us in specific areas, right? But at the same time, when Elon was testing full self-driving technology, they had a problem because if a bike was attached to so like, they're driving down the road, the cameras are looking at the road. If a car, like let's say an SUV, had a bike attached to the back of the car, the computer couldn't tell whether that was a bike in the road or whether, there was a bike attached to a car that's just driving forward. Right. So it would like glitch out. But I mean, like a child would know the difference between that. Right. But yet this AI doesn't, right? At least at that time. And so, it didn't have general intelligence. Like really like the basic stuff is really what it's bad at, like super basic stuff. And very specific stuff it's incredible at. And in many cases, it's way better than a human years ago. Um, but but now we're going into a place where AI is going to be smarter than everything, right? I mean, so we're going to get to artificial general intelligence. Elon Musk, who I talk about him a lot. I study all different types of dudes, like all the smartest people in AI, basically, and tech. But I mean, I think Elon is the smartest of them all. That's just the way I view things. He hasn't always been perfectly accurate about his predictions, but that's because he was building the technology himself. I mean, if you're a builder, sometimes things take a little longer than you expect them to. But the guy is one of the smartest human beings. I mean, if not the smartest human being on the planet today. And so, he's not right about everything, but he's right about a lot. And so, he said that by 2026, AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, will be a thing. So, I mean, that means that it's as smart as a human in every conceivable way. And then,
Wow.
like a month later, it's twice as smart.
Elon Musk just declared that we have entered the singularity of of AI. Like it's the technology is just gonna go rapid, fast, and we're not like most people bury their head in the sand. They're not even seeing that, these cars are gonna be self-driving themselves, paying themselves with crypto, with no one driving, and AI is gonna be controlling it all.
I mean, it's going to get way crazier than that, bro. It's going to get like, yeah, I don't think we're going to remain human. That's what I think. I think that this is like a star exploding. This is like, we're getting to a place where things are going to change so rapidly, so fast, that I think we're evolving. Like we're going from like a caterpillar to a butterfly. I'm not afraid of those things, and I'm just going to be straight up. Like, I'm sure that scares a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people don't like that, don't want that, but I'm not going to judge reality. That's my whole thing. Like, I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to adapt. And so, is some of it scary? Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Um, I'm not really afraid to die, because it could go bad. I mean, AI is going to be smarter. That we're going to be ants. We're going to be ants to AI for sure. Like for sure. But I, I, I forget who's been saying this a lot, but I'd rather be an optimist and wrong than a pessimist and right. And I think things are going to be great. I think we're gonna adapt. I think that the world is going to change rapidly, and like the second, I think a lot of amazing, incredible things are going to happen. But I also think, I mean, it's just it's just the way the universe works. Once the options exist to go into a virtual reality, I mean, think about how many people are going to be living half their life or more in a virtual reality because they've got a brain chip. It's tapped into their spine, into their nervous system. And when they're in this world, they're like some super attractive Superman, and they're literally playing out a movie, and they get the girl, they fight the bad guy. And I mean, this is all going to be reality. This is going to happen, like these sort of things. And so, I think water takes the path of least resistance. And I mean, the physical world, some say it's a simulation, but I mean, to us, this is physical, right? And so what is the path of least resistance? It's to go into a virtual reality, plug into a brain chip, and then just, go play a video game in your mind. Except, it feels like real life. There's absolutely no difference. It feels exactly like real life. That could be a path. And I think a lot of people are going to want to do stuff like that. And then you've also just got just physical reality. I mean, AIs, they're going to be able to build things. My belief is that we are ants. I don't think we're very intelligent. I mean, I think we're intelligent relative to the other animals and amoeba around us, but I don't really think we're that intelligent. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about all the different things that happen in the world in terms of innovation and stuff, it's like a handful of people out of billions that create all that innovation. And so, and even those people are kind of nuts. Like Isaac Newton was nuts. Like, I mean, he figured out physics, but he was nuts. And, and like, I just don't think that, I just don't think we're all that intelligent. We have a lot of flaws mentally, and it takes years and years, 40, 50 years to kind of like gain a lot of knowledge to like really start figuring stuff out at a high level, like where you get to wisdom or whatever you want to call it. These AIs aren't going to have that problem. I mean, that's going to be like snail pace. That's going to be less than snail pace. It's like super, super, super slow-mo compared to how fast an AI can move and process information and reiterate and go into a simulation and just like robotics, for example. Everyone's talking about how robotics is going to take so much longer to take over physical jobs. Not if we got super intelligent AI by 2026, because then you won't need to test things in the real world anymore, because AI can do it in a simulation, and it can just iterate 1,000 times in 20 minutes and then immediately send blueprints to, whatever the factory or whatever needs to happen. And the next thing you know, and then it also goes, oh, by the way, the factory's built wrong. We should do it this way. This is way better. And everything becomes 10x more efficient, 100 times more efficient, 1,000, 1,000,000 times, the speed. And then, I mean, I don't think those are exaggerated numbers. And then everything speeds up. Everything speeds up. How old are you right now?
I'm 27.
You're 27, so I'm 40, right? So, 40 years ago, whatever, I mean, what can I remember, like 35 years ago, things were slower. Things were way slower. Today things move a lot faster because of technology. I mean, I used to have to call up my mom, or I used to have to call up my buddy's family's home to get a hold of him. And half the time I would get his mom or his dad or this or that. We'd have to call for directions. Someone wouldn't pick up the phone because they were in the backyard. We'd be lost for an hour. Like, I mean, things are moving so much faster today than they used to. And that's just going to get way, way faster. And I think the only way to keep up with that speed is to have a brain chip. And then from there, I think it's just going to get crazier and crazier.
How fast? You think in the next 5 years we're going to surpass the technology in the last ever. Like I want to say the last 50, but ever.
Yeah. So I think that, so 2026, you have AGI, let's say, and you really you can't even think in terms of years anymore. Like forget about decades. When people are like, oh yeah, this is going to happen in 10 years. If any, I don't care what institution it is. I don't care if it's Harvard. I don't care if it's Deloitte. I don't care, if they're saying anything 10 years out, they're making any prediction 10 years out, they're lying, or they have no idea what they're talking about. It's impossible to know what's going to happen in 10 years. Impossible. Because once AI hits AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, then like a couple months later, it's twice as smart as a human. And then a couple months later, it's like 20 times smarter than a human. And then like a couple months later, it's like 100 times smarter than a human. You know what I mean? So, and that is going to happen. And so, there's just really no way to predict what's going to happen. And then, like I said, once it's that intelligent, the problems that we struggle with, it's going to be it's light work for it. It'll be light work for the AI. It'll be like a joke, it'll be a joke. And so everything will rapidly change. And then you've also got, you won't need humans to implement stuff. So a lot of times the reason why things lag so much, like right now, I'm in the sales industry. Right now, there's no need for appointment setters. Like basically appointment setters should not exist anymore. AIs do appointment setting just fine. But a lot of owners, they're not keeping up with technology. They don't really know what's going on. They got 1,000 things going on in their head. Like they're trying to put out this fire, that fire. So like they're just constantly busy. They don't have the time to implement. They're making money still, so they don't really care. And so if there's a lag in terms of like, just because technology exists doesn't mean it automatically changes the world or automatically gets implemented and then things change. So, but when right now we're implementing AI, we're connecting AI to everything right now. And so you'll hear about MCPs, like all these connectors, right? So we're connecting ChatGPT to your Google Drive, to your Gmail, to your calendar, right? And then it's everything's just going to all be connected, and AI is going to be connected to all of those things. And it's going to be taking in all this information on your entire life. And that's just the data. That's just and that's going to happen not just for human beings or personal, just for yourself or for others personally, but also for businesses, organizations, all that stuff. And so it's going to solve so many problems in that regard. And it's going to be sending out that email automatically. It's going to be doing all these things automatically. Everything's going to be moving so much faster. Then once you attach that AI to robotics, now it's going to do that in the physical world. And people say, oh, that's 5 years out. Well, once we have super intelligent AI, like, let's say it's a year and a half from now, you don't even need super intelligent AI. You just need like smarter than a human, or like as smart as a human. You know what I mean? And now now that AI solves any sort of robotic issues. Like it just goes in, it just figures out what the problems are. That's like holding us back from creating super nimble fingers. And I mean, that's really the biggest challenge right now for robotics. Like you'll notice that with all the robots out there, they all have these like clunky hands, like dung, you know what I mean? They're not like our hands. The closest to human hands out there is Tesla Optimus Bot. And I think he's the only one. I mean, Elon Musk is the only one, or Tesla's the only one that's building out robotic hands that actually mimic the dexterity of our own hands. And so soon, he said within 3 years. So Elon's prediction is within 3 years, a robot like Optimus will be able to do open heart surgery on you better than any surgeon in the world. And not only that, there'll be more robotic surgeons than there are human surgeons today within 3 years. And I absolutely believe that that's accurate.
In 2025, over 1.1 million people were laid off. It's only going to grow with AI in the future. The billionaires of the world think like humans should like focus on creative work. What creative work can people do right now?
Honestly, dude, all these super smart guys, you got to think about where they're coming from. All right. Or they, not just super smart. It's, like, um, guys that are running these huge, massive tech companies and stuff, right? People are going to them, asking them, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And so, they're trying to give people, look, with great power comes great responsibility. You can't, if Elon Musk doesn't have a filter, that's why I love him so much. He just doesn't care. He'll just tell you the truth. But they don't want to scare people, right? Because the average person doesn't understand how this stuff works. So they're going to fear it. If you tell them things about the future, they're going to take it. They're not going to be cool about it. Like people are not going to be. I mean, you can just tell. Like, if I were to, like, when I'm talking to some of these people in the street, if I were to tell them what's actually going on, like what's actually going to happen after they tell me, oh yeah, there's no way I'm going to lose my job. There's no way. And I told them, well, actually, no, you're going to lose your job within 6 months. They would flip the fuck out. Right? And so now think about that in the mass scale.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, in my view, that's why you're not really hearing about this. The government's not talking about it because they want people to keep going to work, keep doing your thing. Don't worry about the singularity. Don't worry about AI taking your job. Just keep this whole thing going until we can get robots in place. All right. Because we don't want to have social unrest. We don't want to have big issues. The system is not as strong as people think. You know what I mean? The economy, the system, it's not bulletproof. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? And so that's why governments are always just trying to like make sure there isn't civil unrest. They don't really tell the people that much. They don't tell them the truth, that's for sure, because they don't want people to start thinking the wrong shit or whatever, or making decisions. If they said, hey, by the way, we're going to implement universal basic income in exactly 2 years, how would that would change the way people start operating, right? Like would that person still build a business, right? Would that person still go to work? Would that person still go to college? Would that person still like, and that's circulation of money. Right. And if there isn't circulation of money, then the economy doesn't function. And then that can create a lot of problems. Right. So I almost agree with them lying to people or not telling people the truth or not telling people what's going on, because it's almost necessary for stability. Now, going back to your question about like, these CEOs of massive companies talk about creativity and stuff, dude, like, I think it was Jensen Huang. He said he runs NVIDIA. He said that AI is not going to take your job. The person who knows how to use AI is going to take your job. But that's going to be like, okay, I don't know, what a transitional period, like a year, maybe. In my view, a couple years, maybe. And then we're going to be in a post-work society. Like there will be no need for humans to work whatsoever. And that's what's going to happen for sure. For sure. Because if you just think about it from a business perspective, right? Like if I'm a business owner, I do not want humans in my business. Like compared to having a super intelligent AI or a robot that never shows up late, never gets drunk, he's not going to sue me, doesn't require insurance, isn't even that expensive. It's like $20,000, $30,000 for one of these things. That's the estimated price is what they're going to cost, right? So like, and then it's super skilled. I just load up a program. It knows, what a 30-year mason knows. It knows what a 30-year carpenter knows instantly. And it never screws up or almost never, let's say. And it's going to be the perfect employee, the absolute perfect employee, and it's going to cost almost nothing. So, and there's a forcing function. Even if you wanted to keep humans on the payroll because you believed, you wanted to support your family, your work family, or whatever however you want to look at it, you're not going to stay in business, because you're going to have to compete against the same organization or the same someone in your industry who is using AI and robots, and they're going to be able to do everything cheaper, faster, better, and the average person won't want to do business with you, because this other service is just so much better, and it's cheaper, and it's faster. You know what I mean? So people won't have a choice. Our business owners won't have a choice, even if they didn't want to replace humans with robots. So my point is this: I think people should be prepared for what's coming, mentally, emotionally, physically. Plan for the worst, but I would be optimistic, and I would also try to take advantage of the transition period. Like there's a lot of money that can be made during this time, because most people don't understand AI, and so there's a huge arbitrage right now where you can make a lot of money. Like, for example, implementing AI assistants into service-based businesses. These guys can take phone calls, or like at night, these guys aren't answering their phone, or while they're at work working on some plumbing thing, they're not answering the call. They're missing jobs. If I call in and the first guy that doesn't answer, what do? I call the next guy, right? So if you have an AI assistant that goes, oh, yeah, let's book, I can book you an appointment right now. Here's my schedule. Like, here's what's available. What time works for you? Boom, boom, boom. Now this guy, like I'm, right after this job, I'm showing up to this next job. It was already got booked for me. Right. So, these, you can literally program these for these service-based businesses, charge them like $500,000 up front, depends on how much they make. If it's a huge organization, you can charge them way more, and then you charge them like a monthly retainer, and you just set it up once, and you've got like free cash flow, and you're not really doing that much, and so you can take advantage of that stuff. But my biggest thing is I think the smartest thing you could do if you want financial security is stack cash, stack cash, and just buy a bunch of Tesla, bunch of Tesla stock. If you have no certainty, right? You have no certainty about what the future is going to look like, and for sure that jobs are going to go bye-bye, and there's going to be a lot of change. Well, which company is going to make out from this? Like, what company is going to make out from all this AI tech? The companies that are the best in the world at that tech, right? Like AI and robotics. Who are the leaders in AI and robotics? Tesla. Like, it's the number one company in the world in both AI and robotics. And there's no one that's more advanced. And then you got like NVIDIA who builds like the chips. And then you could get deeper like into energy companies, because energy is going to be a huge thing, because AI is all run on energy. And you got like maybe space companies, like SpaceX is going to IPO soon, so there's going to be a lot of space stuff going on. So like you want to invest in those industries, because when everyone loses their job, you hope I'm pretty sure the government's going to start just handing out checks. That's what's going to happen, because everything is so deflationary, basically, because AI and robots will be able to do things so much faster, so much cheaper. The prices of things go down. Like, for example, right now, you can, 6 months ago, a year ago, you charge $5,000 for a website. You can literally use Lovable and be like, make me a website for my restaurant. And then, here's the basic information. And then like within literally 30 seconds, it'll build you a website. So now are you going to pay $5,000 for that? Like, if you can just pay $10 to have Lovable do it for you, and it'll literally do it in 30 seconds. Like, so all the prices fall. like, even building a house, you don't need 20 guys to build a house anymore and like 3 months to do it. A robot's going to do it. And like, I mean, who knows? I mean, like a fraction of the time. I mean, literally, I think, if you put like 5, 6 robots or whatever on a job site, aside from waiting for concrete to heal or to solidify and, dry, you can build the house like within a couple days, probably less. And so prices are just going to drop and things are going to become super abundant. And so the government can literally just print money and give it to people because the environment's so deflationary. So like we won't go into all the economics, but long story short, as long as production exceeds or grows faster than the money supply, then there's deflation. If the money supply grows faster than production, then there's inflation, right? So like during the pandemic, everyone stopped working and the government started printing money. And so that's why we had all the inflation. That's why within 6 months to a year later, everything at the store was twice as much. And, just basically, the stock market boomed and all this stuff because everything just got inflated. So, yeah, I mean, I could talk about this stuff all day, bro. It's pretty wild.
People are going to have to prepare themselves for the future, the next 5 years, 2028, 2029, 2030. I mean, AI, you said AI is doubling its ability every 7 months, and it's only getting better every single time. The CEO of NVIDIA said that it's going to change the world more than electricity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to make that look like a joke. It's going to make that look like a joke. No one really knows what's going to happen, but that's, I mean, that's how wild it is. You know what I mean? Like no one actually knows what's going to happen. And that's not like necessarily been true in the past. Yes and no. Like for the most part, you can kind of guesstimate, a really smart person who's like really studied the world and studied how the real world works. They can do all the causes and effects in their head and they can predict the future. And there's lots of people that can do that and they can do it really accurately. You just can't do that anymore. Like it's nearly impossible to do that anymore because there's just too many variables because everything, it's not like, the steam engine changed everything. Just electricity changed and the whole world changed. What I'm saying is that everything is going to change. Everything. And like the foundational shit is going to change. Like AI isn't just going to, turn into a plumber and go in and start turning a wrench. It's going to like redesign the whole thing. It's going to redesign the entire system. So it's all everything is just so much more intelligent and works so much better. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, I literally can't explain it because, it hasn't been created yet. And I'm too stupid to know how it's going to change or how it's going to, how it evolve. But you just know that it's going to evolve for sure.
I can see this easily. I saw this a couple of years ago. So I'm an electrician by trade and I build assembly lines. And
Really, that's sick.
so, I see my job being there in the future for a little bit, like you're saying, until they train a robot, like I was saying, like I'm here for a brief moment here because until they figure out to build an assembly line, because let me tell you this much. When I go to a factory, let me just say like Ford, okay? And there's all these assembly workers working the line, okay? One of them gets carpal tunnel in their wrist, immediately replace them because they can't do that job no more with a robot. If you think they're not going to be using AI and robots to replace the whole line eventually to save their money, to save their pocketbooks, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that the whole line is gonna evolve. Like that might become a whole different process,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not like you're going to want, maybe initially you'll have like robots going in there and doing human jobs with their little fumbly hands or whatever. But what I'm saying is that AI will develop a whole different process because it doesn't require humans anymore. You know what I mean? So like, for example, cars. Okay. So like you look at a car and you think to yourself, well, because a human is driving it, then you need like, we've only got 2 arms and 2 legs. And so, we've got the gas pedal, we got the brake, and then we got like the steering wheel, and maybe back in the day we had a shifter and stuff like that. But, there's only so many things that we can do with our extremities, right? And so our limbs. And so the only thing that could move were the front wheels. Like that's, we would move the front wheel, right? But in the future, not even the future, they're doing it right now. You can have all the wheels be independent, right? So the car, and now you can just take out the dashboard, right? So you don't even need the dashboard. The seats don't even have to be facing the same direction. They could be on. So the car could be more of a boxy look, right? And then you can have people like kind of like on a train. You could be like looking at each other, right? And because there's no need to look forward because you're not driving anymore, right? The AI is driving, and the AI, it can it can have 1,000 inputs, like in terms of controlling stuff. So it can control the front right wheel, the front left wheel, the back, whatever. It can control all the different things separately, completely separately, and um and so the whole car can be redesigned like from the ground up because humans aren't involved in the process. And so that's how and so like just to give you an example, right? It's like instead of having to do like a K turn, like literally the wheels just all like do this, creates like a circle, and then the car just turns. It just like turns in its same spot, 360. Do you see what I'm saying? So like,
So you're saying we're going to have technology that we don't even see. We don't even know we don't even know what the technology is
right.
going to be.
Yeah.
The AI
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
going to be making in the future.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah. And it's going to happen with everything. And it's going to happen like really, really, really fast. Because what people don't realize is that there's a shortage of a lot of human beings, like in terms of skilled human beings. There's a massive, massive shortage. It takes like, I think 15, 20 years to become a surgeon, to become a legitimate, like good surgeon. I don't know the exact number. I'm not an expert on this at all, but, uh, you know, so there's a shortage of surgeons, and that's why surgery, I mean, that's part of the reason why, surgeons are, it costs so much, because they're so valuable, right? There's not that many surgeons in the world. That's why they can charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for a surgery or whatever it is. And, um, uh, that won't be the case because literally everyone will have an Optimus bot that's like $20,000 or $30,000 or whatever it is. You'll pay like $500 a month for it, and it'll be invaluable to you. It'll literally, like, if you were having a heart attack, it would know exactly what to do. It would instantly read your vital signs. It would know what's going on with you instantly. It would have the vast knowledge of every single medical book on the planet. And it'll have, like, it'll have watched 1,000 surgeries or 10,000 surgeries, right? And simulated it, and all that stuff will all be programmed in, and it will know exactly what to do in that situation to save your life. It will be, people get hit by a bus walking across the street. It'll see these things happening well before they ever happen. You're over there fumbling around with your AirPods or whatever, and you're listening to some music. You're not even paying attention, and the AI bot or whatever Optimus, saves you. I mean, it's just it's going to be invaluable. It's going to be invaluable.
Now, will AI eventually be running government?
Yeah, I mean, without question. Yeah, I mean, I said this years ago. I saw this coming since 2012. I saw all this stuff coming. I'm not. It's not like I'm like Mr. Big Brain over here. I was studying stuff. I was just studying all of it, and like a lot of people made different predictions on things, and I would be like, oh yeah, that does make sense. That does make sense. No, and like over the years, you kind of put all the pieces together, but if you're super obsessed with this stuff, but yeah, I mean the government, first of all, is super corrupt. It's not there to serve the people. The world is a business, okay? And it's owned by business owners. And the people are there to serve those businesses. And so it's a symbiotic relationship. So um you can't have like, for example, you can't be a king without uh without um uh without people to rule over, right? Like, do you see what I'm saying, right? Like, if you didn't have a whole bunch of people to rule over, are you really a king? You know what I mean? Like, so and I'm not necessarily talking about just power here. Like, yes, businesses require, like, businesses require employees. And so um if something bad happens to the people, like if there's chaos in society, that's bad for business. And that's why they care. You see what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not looking at it from like first of all, conspiracy theorists are like 30-0 right now, but this isn't a conspiracy. This is just basic knowledge for people who understand business at a high level. And this is basic knowledge, right? And and they talk about this. This is just a regular conversation at a high level business meeting, like in terms of, if Amazon can't just go into a small town and operate, because there won't be enough people to serve the business, right? If they need 10,000 factory workers, where are they going to get those 10,000 factory workers from? They got to go to a certain location that can supply the workers to that organization, to the business, right? And so, all these things are taken into account. And so basically the government is just there to keep everything smooth for businesses, not for the people. And then in that process, because it keeps the people happy or content or entertained or fed, then the businesses are able to perform, and all the business owners are happy. And there's small businesses, there's medium-sized businesses, there's large businesses. And so, it's super corrupt, because they're stealing from people. That's just like the whole. I mean, politics as a whole, it's a big show. It's just, that's all it is, a big show. And it's just, nothing ever really changes. I mean, a little bit here and there, you know what I mean, but for the most part, like, for the wealthy, everything's going just fine.
Every day is Friday, then you're living my